You've been running your whole life, chasing happiness, success, love, purpose. You've climbed mountains that led nowhere, achieved goals that still felt hollow, and looked for peace in everything outside yourself. Yet, no matter how much you chase, something within whispers, there must be more. What if the more you're seeking isn't ahead of you, but already within you, waiting to be remembered, not found? The truth is, seeking can be a beautiful beginning, but a painful way to live. The more you search for what you already are, the further you drift from it. Most people live in a constant loop of becoming someday. When I get that job, I'll be happy. When I heal, I'll be worthy. When I succeed, I'll finally feel free. But someday never comes, because you're already standing in the very state you've been searching for. You just haven't learned how to be still long enough to feel it. Becoming isn't about acquiring something new. It's about remembering who you've always been. The deeper truth is that the version of you you're striving to become already exists in another layer of consciousness, quietly waiting for you to align with it. The moment you stop chasing and start being, you tune into that reality. You stop searching for proof, and instead become the living evidence of what's possible. The spiritual exhaustion you feel doesn't come from the lack of answers. It comes from the illusion that you're separate from them. Every time you look outside yourself for peace, you unconsciously affirm that you don't have it. Every time you attach your worth to something external, you surrender your power to the temporary. Real transformation begins the moment you stop trying to get there and realize you already are there. This journey is not about seeking, it's about seeing. Seeing through the illusions that keep you striving, through the stories that keep you small, and through the noise that keeps you distracted. It's about remembering that the light you've been chasing has always been shining from within. This is the end of searching, and the beginning of becoming. Chapter 1. Chasing Shadows. The Myth of More. We live in a world that glorifies the pursuit of more. More money, more recognition, more followers, more validation, as if accumulation itself is the key to peace. From a young age, we're conditioned to believe that happiness lies somewhere ahead, waiting to be earned. So we chase shadows, illusions of fulfillment projected by a culture that equates worth with achievement. Yet every time we reach the next milestone, we feel that haunting emptiness whisper again, "It's still not enough." The chase continues, not because we are lacking, but because we have forgotten how to be still in who we already are. The myth of more thrives on comparison. We scroll through curated lives, measuring our worth by how close we are to someone else's highlight reel. The ego feeds on this hunger. It survives by convincing you that peace exists somewhere just beyond your reach. And so we keep running. But chasing is exhausting because it assumes separation, a gap between who you are and what you want. The truth is that gap doesn't exist. It's a mirage created by the mind's inability to be present. When you stop seeking from lack and start being from wholeness, the illusion collapses. True abundance isn't measured by how much you possess, but by how deeply you feel. It's the quiet confidence that nothing external can add or subtract from your essence. It's the awareness that your worth is not a currency. It's your natural state of being. When you live from this truth, life stops feeling like a race and starts feeling like a rhythm. You no longer chase experiences to validate your existence. Instead, your presence begins to shape reality itself. More loses its grip because you finally understand that what you were chasing was never a thing. It was a state. This doesn't mean ambition is wrong. Growth is sacred. But when growth comes from fear, it creates suffering. When it flows from love and expansion, it becomes creation. The shift lies not in what you do, but why you do it. The moment your actions are driven by completeness instead of lack, your energy changes, and so does your world. The universe mirrors your inner state. When you embody enoughness, life brings you experiences that match it effortlessly. To stop chasing is not to give up. It's to wake up. You realize that the shadows you were running after were only reflections of your own light. The more you were seeking was never somewhere else. It was buried beneath layers of fear, doubt, and conditioning. When you slow down, breathe, and return to the present moment, you discover the truth. You already are the more you've been looking for. Chapter 2. The Exhaustion of Endless Searching. There comes a point when the soul grows weary of the chase. You've read the books, followed the methods, listened to countless voices promising transformation, yet deep inside, there's still a quiet ache, a feeling that something is missing. This exhaustion isn't physical, it's spiritual. It's the fatigue that comes from seeking endlessly without ever arriving. It's the silent cry of your higher self whispering, "Stop looking outside. The answer has always been within." Endless searching is a subtle form of self-rejection. Each time you look outward for peace, you unconsciously affirm that it doesn't exist within you. You place your wholeness on a future moment. When I find my purpose, I'll finally feel complete. Or, when I manifest my dream, I'll finally be enough. But that future never arrives, because your energy is rooted in lack. The more you seek, the more you strengthen the vibration of not having. It's like running on a treadmill that never stops. Movement without arrival, effort without fulfillment. This is the hidden trap of spiritual striving. Many people on the path mistake searching for growth, when in truth it often becomes avoidance. We distract ourselves with healing, with rituals, with endless self-improvement, trying to fix what was never broken. We forget that the very act of chasing wholeness reinforces the illusion of separation. The soul doesn't evolve by reaching, it unfolds by remembering. You don't become awakened through more effort, but through surrender. When you finally pause, something shifts. The silence that once felt uncomfortable begins to feel like home. You start to hear the subtle wisdom beneath the noise, the voice that says, "You don't need to search anymore." That's the beginning of inner liberation. You realize that the peace you were chasing through motion was quietly waiting in stillness. The more you stop searching, the more you start feeling. And in that feeling, raw, unfiltered, and real, you rediscover yourself. The exhaustion of endless searching is not a sign of failure, it's a sacred invitation. It's life's way of saying you've looked everywhere else. Now look within. True awakening begins not with another book or technique, but with one deep breath of presence. The moment you surrender the chase, the seeker dissolves, and all that remains is being. Chapter 3. Why desire without presence breeds emptiness. Desire is a natural part of being human. It's the spark that moves us to create, to explore, to expand. But when desire is disconnected from presence, it becomes an echo, a hollow craving that can never be satisfied. Most people desire not from fullness, but from lack. They chase goals because they believe the result will fill an internal void. Yet no matter what they achieve, that emptiness returns, because they were never truly in the journey, only fixated on the destination. Without presence, desire becomes addiction. Presence transforms desire from hunger into harmony. When you are present, desire flows from inspiration, not from fear. You don't chase, you align. You don't grasp, you allow. The irony is that what you deeply want can only reach you when you stop needing it to complete you. Presence gives birth to enoughness, the awareness that nothing external can make you more whole than you already are. From that space of inner abundance, desire becomes a dance with the universe, not a struggle against it. Many people spend their lives wanting something they never stop to experience. They long for love, but don't know how to feel love now. They crave success, but don't appreciate the small victories already unfolding. They pray for peace, yet resist the silence where peace lives. The mind keeps saying, "I'll be happy when," but when never comes, because happiness only ever exists in now. Desire without presence breeds emptiness because it seeks life in a future that doesn't exist. To reconnect desire with presence is to return to your creative power. It means feeling the fullness of the moment while still being open to more. You stop treating your manifestations as lifeboats and start seeing them as expressions of your completeness. When you are present, your energy becomes magnetic. What you desire feels your wholeness and naturally moves toward it. You're no longer asking the universe to give you something to feel complete. You're radiating completeness, and the universe mirrors it back. The moment you merge desire with presence, fulfillment ceases to be a goal and becomes a state of being. You realize that the true satisfaction never came from getting what you wanted. It came from being awake to the beauty of where you already are. When desire is anchored in presence, it no longer breeds emptiness, it births expansion. You stop searching for meaning and start living it. Chapter 4. Stillness, the forgotten door to becoming. Stillness is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of awareness. In a world obsessed with noise, speed, and doing, stillness has become one of the most radical acts of awakening. Most people fear silence because in it, they meet themselves. Yet this meeting is where true transformation begins. The mind constantly seeks to fill every space, with thoughts, with plans, with distractions, because it believes that doing equals progress. But the truth is, the deepest becoming does not happen through effort. It happens through stillness. In stillness, the mind softens, and the heart begins to speak. The layers of noise that once clouded your perception start to dissolve, revealing the essence of who you are beneath all identities. You discover that stillness is not emptiness. It's fullness without demand. It's the silent awareness that watches everything come and go, yet remains untouched. When you learn to rest in that awareness, you stop trying to become something, and instead, you realize what you've always been. Many people think they need to do more to find themselves, meditate harder, work longer, seek higher. But becoming is not about addition, it's about subtraction. The more you let go of the noise, the closer you come to the truth. The more you surrender, the more you awaken. Stillness is the forgotten door because it requires you to trust the unseen, to allow life to unfold without your constant interference. It's an invitation to stop managing reality and start merging with it. When you cultivate stillness, you begin to notice that life moves with an intelligence far greater than your control. Answers rise from silence. Inspiration emerges naturally. Healing happens without force. The mind resists this truth because it thrives on activity, but the soul rejoices because it finally breathes. In stillness, you don't lose your power. You reclaim it. You move from striving to flowing, from chasing outcomes to embodying presence. The paradox is that through stillness, you begin to become everything you once chased. You attract clarity, peace, and abundance not by seeking them, but by being still enough to receive them. The forgotten door to becoming has always been here, wide open, waiting for you to walk through it. All it asks is that you stop trying to force life and start feeling it. Chapter 5. When the seeker becomes the sought. There comes a sacred moment on every spiritual path when the seeker realizes they were never truly searching for anything. They were being called back to themselves. The longing that drove you to seek was never about finding something outside of you. It was the divine whisper within, guiding you home. At first, we believe we are chasing enlightenment, peace, or fulfillment. But as we awaken, we begin to understand that it was never us seeking the divine. It was the divine seeking expression through us. The seeker's journey is beautiful, but also filled with illusion. When you see yourself as a seeker, you unknowingly reinforce the idea that what you desire is missing. You separate yourself from the wholeness that already exists within. This endless pursuit of becoming subtly keeps you trapped in the identity of one who lacks. But when you pause and recognize that the very energy pushing you to seek is the same energy that is you, something profound happens. The seeker disappears. and only presence remains. When the seeker becomes the sought, the distance between you and truth dissolves. You begin to feel the presence of life not as an external force, but as your own being. The river no longer looks for the ocean. It realizes it has always been water. In this awareness, the need to find, prove, or achieve anything spiritual fades away. You are no longer trying to grasp enlightenment. You are living as it. You stop searching for the light and begin to be the light. This realization does not come through intellectual understanding. It comes through surrender. The moment you stop striving and simply allow yourself to be, life reveals its unity. Every sound, breath, and heartbeat becomes sacred. The separation between the seeker and the sought collapses into a single experience of existence. You feel the infinite not as something to reach for, but as something pulsing through your veins. You are not on the path, you are the path. When the seeker becomes the sought, peace is no longer a goal, it becomes your natural state. Love is no longer an effort, it becomes your essence. You realize that every prayer, every meditation, and every tear was never about finding God, truth, or purpose. It was all about remembering that you were never apart from them. The journey ends where it began, within you. Chapter 6. The Power Hidden in the Now. There is a quiet, invisible power that only reveals itself when you stop running from the present moment. It's the power of now, the unshakable stillness beneath all movement, the silence beneath every sound. Most people never discover it because they're too busy living in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's expectations. The mind constantly pulls you into time, whispering that fulfillment lives somewhere else. But the truth is timeless. It lives here, in this very breath, in this exact heartbeat, in this simple moment you call now. When you learn to rest in the present, everything changes. The weight of the past dissolves, the anxiety of the future fades, and you begin to sense the quiet hum of eternity flowing through ordinary moments. The present isn't just where life happens, it is life. Every act of awareness, every deep breath, every conscious pause is a doorway into that infinite space where peace resides. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop surviving and begin being. The ego cannot exist in the now. It feeds on past identity and future worry. It thrives on what was and what might be. But in the present moment, the ego has nothing to hold on to. No image, no story, no comparison. That's why presence feels so freeing. When you are fully here, the false self collapses, and your true essence shines without resistance. You realize that presence is not a practice, it's your natural state, obscured only by the noise of mental time. In the now, life supports you with a mysterious intelligence. The answers you've been chasing appear effortlessly. The right people cross your path. Inspiration flows without force. It's as if the universe has been waiting for you to arrive, so it could reveal the beauty it's always been holding. The power of the now is not loud or dramatic. It's gentle, yet it transforms everything it touches. It realigns your energy with flow, grace, and divine timing. To live in the now is to live in freedom. It doesn't mean ignoring the past or neglecting the future. It means no longer being enslaved by them. You still plan, dream, and create, but you do so from stillness, not from lack. In that presence, every breath becomes sacred, every moment becomes whole, and you realize nothing is missing and nothing ever was. The greatest power you'll ever know has always been hidden in plain sight, within this eternal now. Chapter 7. From Doing to Allowing. The Art of Inner Alignment. There comes a moment on every spiritual journey when you realize that all your striving, all your effort to make things happen, has only pulled you further from peace. You've been trying so hard to control the waves of life that you've forgotten how to float. True creation doesn't come from force. It comes from flow. It emerges when doing transforms into allowing, when action arises from alignment rather than fear. This is the sacred shift from effort to ease, from pushing to being pulled by the quiet intelligence of your higher self. Inner alignment begins when you stop fighting against what is. Most of the world operates in resistance, trying to bend life to their will, to fix, chase, and prove. But alignment is the opposite of resistance. It's not passive surrender, it's conscious cooperation with the deeper rhythm of existence. It's trusting that life already knows how to unfold, that the river doesn't need to be pushed to reach the ocean. The more you relax into trust, the more effortlessly things begin to move in your favor. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means your actions come from clarity, not desperation, from peace, not panic. When your inner state is aligned, what you do externally becomes far more powerful. You begin to notice synchronicities, people, opportunities, and ideas showing up at the right time without force. That's because alignment tunes your energy to the frequency of what you desire. You're no longer trying to create. You're allowing creation to happen through you. The art of inner alignment requires humility, the courage to admit that the mind doesn't have all the answers. It means letting go of rigid timelines and trusting the unseen intelligence guiding your path. The ego says, "I must figure it out." The soul whispers, "I already know. Just listen." When you choose the latter, you begin to move through life with grace. You no longer need to chase, you attract. You no longer need to control, you allow. In that space of allowing, you rediscover your natural state, one of harmony, peace, and divine flow. You realize that the universe was never against you. You were simply swimming upstream. Once you realign with your inner truth, life itself begins to cooperate with you. Every breath, every decision, every step becomes infused with purpose and ease. The secret was never in doing more. It was in becoming aligned with who you already are. Chapter 8. The Quiet Confidence of Enoughness. There's a sacred kind of confidence that doesn't need to announce itself, a calm assurance that arises from knowing you are already whole. This is the quiet confidence of enoughness. It's not loud, it doesn't compete, and it doesn't demand recognition. It simply exists, steady, rooted, and free. For so long, we've been conditioned to measure worth through achievement, appearance, or validation. But the deeper truth is this: real confidence doesn't come from proving your value, it comes from remembering it. The mind, ruled by the ego, constantly whispers, "You're not there yet. You need to do more, have more, become more." It thrives on comparison and lack, but the soul speaks in a gentler tone. You are already enough. When you begin to live from that frequency, the endless striving begins to dissolve. You no longer chase after things to fill a void. You realize the void never truly existed. The feeling of not being enough was only a misunderstanding, a story you were told and taught to believe. Enoughness is not complacency. It's not about giving up on growth or ambition. Rather, it's the recognition that growth is not about fixing yourself. It's about expressing more of who you already are. When you know you're enough, every goal becomes an expansion, not a desperate escape. You take inspired action, not anxious action. You begin to enjoy the process instead of obsessing over the outcome, because your worth is no longer on the line. This quiet confidence radiates from within and changes the way you move through the world. You stop performing and start being. You stop comparing and start creating. You stop fearing rejection because your validation no longer depends on others. People feel this energy. It's magnetic, grounded, and deeply authentic. It's the kind of presence that makes others feel safe, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're comfortable in your own skin. To live in enoughness is to finally come home to yourself. It's the end of the exhausting search for approval and the beginning of true peace. When you realize that nothing outside of you can add or subtract from your essence, you become unshakable. You move with grace, speak with clarity, and live with joy, because you no longer need to be more. You only need to remember that you already are. Chapter 9. Becoming the frequency you once pursued. At some point in your journey, you realize that everything you were chasing was never meant to be attained. It was meant to be embodied. Every dream, every desire, every vision of a better version of yourself was not pointing you toward something outside of you, but toward a higher frequency within you. The moment you stop striving to get and start being, you cross a profound threshold. You become the frequency you once pursued. The universe doesn't respond to words or wishes. It responds to energy. When you were chasing love, you were vibrating in lack. When you were striving for success, you were often acting from fear. But when you begin to align your inner state with the vibration of what you desire, peace, abundance, love, or freedom, you stop needing to chase. You start attracting. Because resonance is creation. What you are inside becomes what you experience outside. The search ends when the seeker becomes the frequency of the sought. This transformation begins quietly. You start noticing how your thoughts, emotions, and energy are shaping your reality. Instead of waiting for conditions to change before you feel joy, you decide to embody joy first. Instead of needing validation to feel worthy, you begin to vibrate worthiness. Every time you choose calm over chaos, love over fear, gratitude over lack, you are tuning your inner frequency closer to the reality you've always wanted. This is not about pretending. It's about remembering the vibration of your true nature and choosing to dwell there consciously. When you become the frequency you once pursued, you stop living reactively and begin living intentionally. Life stops being something that happens to you and becomes something that flows through you. You move with clarity and ease because you're no longer trying to manipulate outcomes. You are aligned with them. The people, opportunities, and experiences that once seemed distant begin to appear naturally because you have become a vibrational match to them. This is the ultimate paradox of manifestation. You attract what you are, not what you want. When you realize this, the pursuit ends and peace begins. You no longer chase after the light. You become it. You no longer seek love. You radiate it. You no longer look for signs of alignment. You live in alignment. The frequency you once pursued is not a destination. It's your true state of being, waiting patiently for you to remember it. Chapter 10. Arrival. Living as the embodied truth. There comes a moment when the search ends, not because you found everything you were looking for, but because you finally remembered who you are. This is the sacred moment of arrival, when you no longer chase, strive, or seek to become. You simply are. You begin to live as the embodied truth of your being, grounded, radiant, and deeply at peace within yourself. The mind no longer dictates your worth. The heart becomes your compass. Every breath becomes a prayer, every step an act of remembrance. Living as the embodied truth means you no longer speak of alignment, you live it. You no longer discuss surrender, you embody it. You no longer hope for peace, you radiate it. This is not about perfection, it's about presence. You are no longer performing spirituality or personal growth. You have become the living expression of it. The external world may still shift and challenge you, but your inner world remains steady, anchored in truth, not illusion. You realize that life is not meant to be mastered, it's meant to be experienced fully through awareness. When you reach this state, you stop trying to control life and start collaborating with it. Every event, pleasant or painful, becomes part of the divine choreography of your evolution. You understand that nothing is random, that even contrast serves creation. Your ego no longer fights for identity because you no longer feel separate from the whole. You become a vessel for life to express itself, effortlessly, authentically, beautifully. The boundaries between the you and the universe dissolve, revealing that they were never real to begin with. To live as the embodied truth is to walk through the world as love in motion. Your energy heals spaces without words. Your presence uplifts without effort. You become a mirror that reminds others of their own divinity. The power you radiate is quiet, but undeniable. Not the power of dominance, but of alignment. You move through life not needing validation, not fearing loss, because you are rooted in something eternal, consciousness itself. And this, truly, is the end of seeking, the beginning of being, the point where you stop searching for truth because you are truth in motion, the living awareness through which the universe experiences itself. You have arrived, not at a destination, but at the infinite home within. This is the essence of enlightenment, not escape from life, but full participation in it, from the still center of your being. You are no longer becoming. You have become. Conclusion. The end of seeking, the beginning of being. At the heart of every journey, whether spiritual, emotional, or material, lies one silent truth. You were never lost. You were only asleep to who you already are. The moment you stop searching outside and turn inward, you rediscover the infinite presence that has always been guiding you. How to stop seeking and start becoming is not an end, but a return to wholeness, to peace, to the quiet knowing that you are already complete. Life will still move with its seasons. There will be moments of uncertainty, contrast, and change. But your relationship with them transforms. You begin to move from resistance to allowance, from fear to trust, from striving to surrender. You realize that becoming isn't something to be achieved, it's something to be remembered. It's the realization that what you once chased was never missing. It was simply buried beneath layers of doubt, noise, and forgetting. When you live from this truth, your energy shifts. Your choices align effortlessly. You stop forcing outcomes and start flowing with divine timing. Every experience becomes sacred because it reflects the consciousness you bring to it. You begin to radiate peace, not because life is perfect, but because you've stopped depending on circumstances to define your worth. You've found home, not in a place, not in a goal, but in yourself. The true beauty of life unfolds when you stop seeking and start being. In that beingness, you become the magnet for everything once pursued: love, clarity, abundance, and purpose. Because what you are being is already in harmony with what you desire. The universe doesn't respond to wanting, it responds to being. So take a deep breath, release the chase, and rest in your knowing. You are the awareness observing the journey, not the one endlessly striving through it. You are not in search of the divine. You are the divine, remembering itself through human form. If this message awakened something within you, don't let it fade into the noise of another day. Take a moment now, like, share, and subscribe to Summary Shelf, where we explore the wisdom that helps you rise above the mind, heal deeply, and live consciously. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of awakening. Every week, we bring you profound lessons that feed the soul and expand awareness, timeless insights for your personal evolution. Your journey doesn't end here. It deepens with every story, every reflection, every moment of truth. So join the community of seekers who have stopped seeking and started becoming. Because transformation begins not when you find the light, but when you realize you are it.